think we're really good at doing the hard stuff. So we will, march and rally. And I feel like one thing that we're good at is we're good at making a noise.
I think this year has been a lot about healing ourselves. And so, especially the youth, we're going to come to this place of, I don't even want to say power, but like the power to change the world. We're going to come to that space in a more healed and whole way. I advocate for environmental issues. I advocate for the importance of voting. I advocate for the LGBTQ plus community.
Activism that I focus on is climate change, gun safety.
And I do social activism, but what I'm most known for is menstrual activism,
racial justice, climate justice, and restorative reproductive justice. I'm really interested in making music and sharing my words with people.
Some of the activities that I'm involved in right now is I'm actually a candidate running for the Parker Town Council, so I think that's like my major activity.
So I think when I was 11 years old, I realized that there wasn't a lot of education about periods or reproductive health in the school system. And there was a lot of girls that I knew, especially, who didn't have access, and they would come to school with nothing. And I think that's what caused my whole activism to spark, was to see the lack of products that they had.
So I think these are all important issues to me because I'm directly affected by them. So for example, like we as young people are going to be and have already been directly affected by the changing climate. Racial justice is important to me because I'm a person of color. I'm also like the daughter of immigrants, so like immigration.
Really just, it's in my blood to want to fight for everybody and peace and love, and it also just comes from a place of love for everybody because I know how it feels to be discriminated against. BIPOC people are just not treated the same. We're really not. And you can see it in obviously the Black Lives Matter movement and what they're advocating against, but also the healthcare system. We're not able to get healthcare like our white counterparts. We're not treated the same when we do have healthcare. We've seen a lot of stories about that, or I have, just people being treated terribly in hospitals, and I've experienced that myself. I went in there because I had this really bad spider bite one time, and I was like, I don't remember what spider bite it was, but it's really hurting and I don't know what's going on. And I went in there and they treated me like I was there for drugs. And so that's just like one of my experiences. So I know that this is in the systems.
To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency.
The global death toll from COVID has now eclipsed the 2 million mark. The United States tops the list with almost 400,000 lives claimed by the virus.
Today was a really rough day. It was a really rough day. It was a really rough shit. I don't know, I just feel like there's only so much anyone can say.
Everyone talks about how 2020 is just like such a cursed year and everything just keeps on going wrong. But in this pandemic, I think that the American people really needed the support from their government.
This pandemic has really showed us how fragile American healthcare is, and really just how fragile, like, the systems that we have created or that people have created, how easily something like this can mess it up.
Crisis is dealing an especially difficult blow to Asian Americans. Amid the pandemic, they're also dealing with the virus of hate and discrimination.
And do you think using the term Chinese virus that puts Asian Americans at risk, that people might target that?
No, not at all. I think they probably would agree with it 100%. It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China. That's why. It comes from China.
I want to say like March or April when people were really blaming the Asian community for this virus. My personal Instagram was like flooded with a lot of racist comments, a lot of like slurs and a lot of things that I haven't really heard in a while. And like even off of social media and off online, in the streets, like I remember when the virus first happened, and I think my family or my brothers and I were at a Walmart. Somebody in line behind us who wasn't wearing a mask said something like, we should go to a different line. They probably have corona. And like, we were the only ones wearing masks there. I think that for me as an activist, I don't want to say like it's normalized, but I've faced like this kind of discrimination before. So it's kind of normal to me. Racism is a virus because it spreads so easily, and racism is based upon fear, and fear is something that is easily spread. But at the same time, I think I've heard like the other side of the argument is that racism is not really a virus, because when we say it's a virus, we put the blame on racism itself and not the people who are spreading it. Activism is more needed right now, more so than ever, and I see a revolution happening, and I'm really excited to be part of that revolution. But this pandemic has really changed how we can go about it.
Activism has been really impacted because I haven't been able to leave my house because of COVID. I am a nanny currently, and they don't want me to leave, and that's completely fine because they are a vulnerable group. So that has impacted my ability to be out in the streets fighting like I would want to. But I think I have just been trying to organize in a way that is I can do so from my home and over the internet. Thank God for social media. Like, I don't know how we'd be doing this without social media.
Educational parts of activism have been moved to Zoom, and it's more difficult, I think, than ever to get people to really just show up, because it was hard before to like get people to show up to one place. I think activism now, instead of just taking it to the streets and protesting and rallying, it's really important to do a lot of introspection and looking at yourself and your behaviors, your thoughts and your actions.
It's really shown us who we are because we've gotten to sit with ourselves and we've gotten to really see what it's like to just be in our own bodies and in our own space instead of just going and going and going and going. We really do have power to live in a way that's peaceful and that's in harmony. I look back at my ancestors and I see that it is possible. It is the way of life that should be lived. We were very balanced. We understood that there was a dark side to life, but we chose to understand that dark side and live with it and understand it and love it so that it could be brought to light. And I think that's exactly what we need to do with our history in this country and what's going on right now. We need to see like the good in what's going on.
I will be a future congresswoman.
I am a future president.
I would say I am future caregiver.
I am future healer. The youth have a really fresh perspective because this has been their life. This year, they are able to see how that affects them in history. They have a new, fresh perspective with all of this history, plus their lives. It's just a new age, really.
You know, it's the new generation, right? So we're going to be the ones living through all of this.
Our voice is what's making currently a livable world, a livable future.
I want to see more of like our generation in government.
We see that need for a strong community, and I think that's going to have a play in how we operate this world.
As a generation, as a young generation, if you want to make the change, then we got to contribute somehow. And I feel like even if you are passionate or aren't passionate, you know, you're the one person out there that is at least coming out, marching on the streets, and that itself makes a difference.
The future I want to live in is a space where we all love each other and we all understand each other. We all have that compassion towards each other because we realize that we are all just humans experiencing this life in our own individual way. It's essential that we fight for those younger generations and we create a world that we would want to live in for them, because essentially we are our ancestors and our future grandchildren living in the now. We have the past DNA, especially as women, we have our past DNA and our eggs for the future. We are all of those timelines packed in one, living in the right now. We still need to be within ourselves and love ourselves as much as possible during this time. We need to surround ourselves with as much love as possible, because that is going to have a greater impact on the world than sitting in your fear. And I'm not saying that you can't have these feelings. These are normal feelings, but especially during this time, make it a point to love as much as possible.